Hi guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhodes and I'm here to get you started on Unit 34. 2 more ways to make the pattern using EAR or IR. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need your orange book, open to page 209. You'll also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your page. Please save room for a key as well. If at any point I'm moving too fast, please pause the video to catch up. All right, for the last several weeks, we have been learning about R-controlled vowels. We know that something weird happens when we put vowels in front of the letter R. They take on a whole new sound that is neither long nor short. For the last several weeks, we have been talking about the pattern. Back in week 31, we learned that when you use the WOR chunk in a word like work or world or worst, that OR is going to make an sound. Last week, week 33, we learned that UR is a very common pattern to make the sound in words like hurry or nurse. The week before last, week 32, we talked about the very common ER pattern, which shows up in words like never or serve. So today I have 2 more patterns for you. We've talked about WOR, UR, and ER. This week we're going to talk about EAR and IR. Those also are going to make the sound. Very confusing, I know. Let's start by reading our list. As we do, use your ears to listen for that sound and use your eyes to look for the IR or EAR chunk. Please repeat after me. Birthday, circle, dirty, early, earn, earth, firmly, heard, learn, pearl, rehearse, search, thirsty, 30, and yearn. Okay, choose a color. And let's first focus on that IR pattern, because I'm sure that's a pattern that you're familiar with. You've seen it since 1st grade in words like girl and bird. Today we're going to see it in bigger words. Here it is in the middle of birthday, in the middle of circle, and the middle of dirty. Notice that in a 2-syllable word, it often shows up at the end of the 1st syllable. Very, very rarely will you see it at the end of a 2-syllable word. Here it is in the middle of firmly, and thirsty, and 30. So everything that has a green box around it uses IR to make that sound. And notice that IR chunk usually shows up in the middle of a syllable or at the end of the 1st syllable, never at the end of the 2nd syllable. Okay, now here's maybe some new information for you, because you're used to seeing EAR at the end of a word like here or dear, right? And you've also seen it at the end of a word like pear or tear. So you already know that EAR can say ear or air. Today we're going to find out what happens though if EAR shows up at the beginning of a syllable, the beginning of a word, or the middle of a word. It's going to take on a whole new sound. So here it is at the beginning of early, at the beginning of earn, and at the beginning of earth. okay? When we see E-A-R in those words, it's not going to say ear or air, it's going to say So we have to train our brains to look for that. It's also going to happen in the middle of a word like heard, d. It's going to happen in the middle of learn, n, and in the middle of pearl, o. It'll also show up in the middle of rehearse, and the middle of search, and the middle of yearn. So over here, red box equals E-A-R, and that's also going to make the sound. So I think this is where your new learning is going to be this week. I don't think you're going to have much trouble with that I-R chunk. I think you're comfortable with that. The E-A-R might be a little tricky. Okay, now let's review some common types of words. One type of word that we've talked about a lot this year is a compound word. Remember, when we take two small words and glue them together, like firehouse or cupcake, that's called a compound word. Right here, we have a compound word. A birthday is a noun. It is the day of your birth, okay? We do not have any other compound words here, but let's just make a note here. Anything I underlined in blue is a compound word. Okay. You're going to have more practice with that, by the way, when you get to page 212. You're going to have words like earthquake or earthworm. So keep that in mind. I also want to remind you about homophones. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. So we know that homophones are two or more words that sound the same but are spelled differently and have different meanings. Do you see any homophones on our list this week? Yeah, how about this one? Heard. Okay? Heard is a verb. It's an action word. I heard you means I did hear. I see the word hear in there, right? So heard means listened. But there's also this kind of herd, which would be a group of animals, like a herd of buffalo or a herd of cows, okay? We have another homophone here. The word earn is a verb. If you earn money, you earn a paycheck, it means you make money. But there's also this kind of earn, which is a container. When we had to put our dog down a few months ago, we had her cremated and they gave us her ashes and we keep them on our mantle in an urn. It's a fancy container. So earn and earn are homophones. On page 213, you're going to have more practice with homophones. In addition to these words, you're going to see maybe fur and some other words as well. So, purple equals homophone. All right, something else we've talked about this year are suffixes. We know that we can add a suffix to the end of a word to change its part of speech. So, let's look at the word firmly. We know what it means to be firm, right? If you're firm, you're strong. You could give someone a firm handshake. You could give someone a firm no, right? So firm is an adjective. But if you do something firmly, you do it in a firm way. In a firm or strong way. Instead of being an adjective, it's now an adverb. That ly changes the part of speech. So if I ask my mom, can I sleep over at Jenny's house? And she says no firmly, I know that there's no point in arguing with her because she's not going to change her mind. Okay, so ly is a suffix. Another suffix is y by itself. You know what dirt is, right? Some kids like to go outside and play in the dirt. That's a noun. When you play in the dirt, you get dirty. That's an adjective. When I put that y suffix on the end, I can change my noun, dirt, to the adjective, dirty. Dirty means not clean. The same thing happens here with thirsty. Thirst is a noun, right? That need for a drink, right? After we run a mile in the hot sun, we experience thirst. Our body needs to be rehydrated. It needs water. We start to feel thirsty. Thirsty is an adjective. That y suffix changes it from a thing to a describing word. So over here, anything I circled in blue is a suffix. Okay. Let's see if we know what the rest of our words mean. We talked about birthday, the day we're born. A circle is a noun. It's a shape, right? It can also be used as a verb if we talk about circling something, right? Circle your name. Early is a describing word, right? It's the opposite of late. So if the birthday party starts at 4 and you show up at 4, you're right on time. If you show up at 3:45, you're early. If you show up at 4:15, you're late, okay? So early is the opposite of late. Earth is a noun. Now notice it's not capitalized here. If we put an uppercase E at the beginning, that would be a proper noun. We would be talking about the planet Earth. If there's no uppercase, we're just talking about dirt or land, right? Like think about earth movers, like bulldozers and tractors. They move the dirt, they move the earth. To learn, that's a verb, right? That's an action. When we learn, we gain knowledge, we get smarter. A pearl is a precious gem. It's white. Sometimes ladies have a pearl necklace or pearl earrings. Pearls come from the ocean. To rehearse is to practice. So if you're going to be in a play, before you can perform in front of an audience, you need to rehearse many times to make sure you know your lines. If you are going to have a piano recital or a dance recital, you need to rehearse first so you can practice. To search is a verb. It's an action. It means to look for. So when I can't find my car keys, I have to search in my pocketbook. I have to search on the kitchen counter. I have to search under the couch cushions. I have to look for it. 30 can be a noun if we're talking about the number. It can also be an adjective if we're using it as a describing word, like I have $30 or I have 30 pairs of shoes. Here's a word you might not know. Yearn is a verb. It's an action word. If you yearn for something, it means you want it badly, right? So if you've been up for 22 hours, you yearn for sleep, right? It means you really, really want it. You really, really need it. All right, lots of great words this week. Good luck. You'll do great, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.